So everybody makes jokes about like pulling out of the coming through the tunnel and like seeing the city, be like, oh. And like what's funny is like my first experience. Well, like I came to, so my first experience in Pittsburgh was before, because I came on like an interview before I got drafted. So like I came to Pittsburgh then, but like I didn't like really notice coming out of the tunnel. Like it was different. Like it was like there was so much other stuff going on. Like trying to remember about, which is also weird, bro. Because it's like I don't like reminisce. I reminisce 0%. So like when I do it, I'm like, hang on, like what the? I reminisce within frames of like days, sometimes weeks. Mm-hmm. No longer than like a week. It's like the rest is like you know. So it's funny like looking back, and it's like being like, wow, it has been a decade. Anyways, so the first time I came was on a visit, or an interview for the Steelers, and then I got drafted, and then I guess it was just like there was more time in between. Like being drafted and actually getting here, where I was like, oh yeah, Pittsburgh. And I really like the city. I remember I came on a visit. I was like, man, dude, I like it here. It was crazy because that was like the only team that like brought me in for a visit. And I remember just being like, man, like I like it here. Like the organization was dope. Like just like there's like a mentality to it that I was like, man, I like really vibe with this. It reminds me of like where I'm from in West Texas. Just people are just like are cool with just going to work, you know, and just like really just value that, just like work. Mm-hmm. And it's very different than where I'm from, like the buildings, landscape, like elevation, rivers, it's like lush and green. And I'm pretty sure I didn't come in when it was like in the summertime. It would have been like cold and like, you know, so it like had like this like different feel to it. But I was just like, man, like this is like cool. I like it here. Like, this is like a cool place. Like I've never been a place like this. I still haven't. I'll travel, you know what I mean? So that's also cool. I still had like Pittsburgh is one of one, you know, very much so. Yeah, I remember I ended up getting the call and they're like, yeah, you're gonna get drafted and we're drafting you. It was like at the very like end, like 7th round. It was pretty crazy about like just like the whole experience leading up to this and being able to look back at where I'm at now is like I've always been on the creative journey as well. And like, that's always been a thing. Whereas I was in college doing what I was doing when I was at Texas Tech, like writing, taking photos. Like I was always like on that journey. And continued it when I got here, you know. I got here and was like this late round draft guy but here's the thing. It's not that I was never the type of football player that wasn't all in. There's a stigma that like you're not all in if you do other stuff. It's interesting. Mm. And it's kind of crazy, but like, wait, maybe I'll just, why don't you guess probably like some guys are just like talented. like, you know, but like it was this thing that like but in college it was like I wasn't, and I think for a lot of guys that stifles options that they have or things they can explore. So I'm so grateful for where I'm from in West Texas and Texas Tech, because the people there embraced that part of what I was doing, like supported like the creative side of like when I was a columnist for the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, and taking photos and had a blog and like was doing all this stuff. My whole life I've had a creative outlet. Mm-hmm. Like when I was like a kid on the bus, like drawing little pictures and like trading pictures for like chips and stuff, and like I've always had a creative outlet. It's funny. So I pull out of like the Fort Pitt tunnels when I actually drive across the country from the after the lockout's over, and they're just like, yo, you got to be in training camp. It's like, all right, and I start driving, and I pull out of the tunnels, and dude, I don't even know where I'm going, because like training camp at art, like it was like I had to go to Latrobe. Uh-huh. So it wasn't like I was like meeting anybody anywhere in Pittsburgh. I just knew that Pittsburgh was where I'd be, and I was like, had the GPS Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even really sure, like I was like, I'm going to Pittsburgh, and they're like, training camp's in Latrobe, and I was like, what? Is that not like Pitt? Like, no, Latrobe is like elsewhere, you know what I mean? Now, right. Especially compared to me just like scooting around in like the 3 square miles that like I'm just like, you know, it's just funny. It's like go to Latrobe, but from Texas though, it's like, oh no, biggie, just I don't know, Latrobe's like what, a few hours or something? It's a little, I mean, it's an hour and a half. Yeah, it's like a little stroll, you know. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, now I'm like, dang, Latrobe, like, what about driving out to? That's far, you know, but. In Texas, I was just like, I was just, everything's like spread out. So like driving for like an hour and a half is like nothing. Mm-hmm. So like I pull out of the tunnel, and it was like, you know, it's like if you've never been there, you don't know which road to take. And then you also don't know that each one, there's not, you don't just like, you just get more turned around the more you try to find your way back. Like you can't just like U-turn. There's no U-turns. No. It's just like this way, downtown, like over here, like you're going to like Monroeville, you're going to overheaded to like North Shore, you're just and so you don't know this, you're just like and you got like I don't know, like it was like 5 seconds to figure out like where you gotta like get to. Yep. Yep. So like it was funny because I didn't like freak out. I was just like, I guess it's all Pittsburgh. Mm. It'll take me to, and I ended up like out in Cranberry. And I was like, wait, where'd the city go? I was like, the city was just like gone, just like vanished. I was like, I don't think I'm in Pittsburgh anymore. I was like pulled over and was like, man, I saw like it was like some like hotel that was like out there. And I was like, man, I better just pull over and just pause. I've been driving. I pulled over and just like stayed out in Cranberry. And then the next day, the player personnel director was like, oh, dude, like, you got to get to Latrobe. I was like, well, they're like, training camp. It was like the next day training camp started. And I'm like driving from Texas. It was crazy, dude. And I was like, all right, Latrobe. Woke up early that morning and started driving again to get to Latrobe. Then got there and like check you in. And then like the next day I was like at practice. I was like, dude, this is wild. Yeah. So yeah, it's just funny to think about because I don't reminisce on it much. But yeah, what a fun, interesting like first encounter. And I remember like pulling into the city and just being like, man, this is like a new chapter of life. It's like real interesting. Right. Like
coming out that tunnel and seeing that.
Yeah, and just being like, yo, like, yeah, this is, yeah. Like this is not, well, one, it was like, I was like, yeah, this is like, this is where I want to be. Mm-hmm. I'd known that before I got here. You know, like I visited and was like, but like to really be like, yeah, this is where I want to be. Like, this is like, it's cool. I had a house with a slope, or not too far from here, that I like renovated, and I knew I was gonna like. I like Pittsburgh, so I was like, no, I like it here. I like it, but I hadn't like really had the chance to like live in the city.
Sure.
Like it's like I'm here in Pittsburgh, but like when you're playing, it's like. Especially early on, so much of, I mean, for me, it was like rehab, wake up, rehab, go to sleep, like just focus on your rehab. Cause that's the only way you're able to, like get back, and now I'm thankful for that. Thankful. I've gotten to experience as a human that level of self-exploration. But it got to the point where, and I was on my creative journey at that point. I've been painting, and I realized the same dynamic of high level self-exploration can be done in a creative field, just without like the not so enjoyable consequences. Like that's what I realized was like, wait. Me being highly participatory with like my thought process, because that's what it is, overcoming an injury. Your body's gonna heal and respond how it naturally will, and you can help it through how you are.
Wow.
And how you go through that process. Like certain injuries, there's a reason why it's like 6 weeks, doesn't matter. This many weeks, doesn't matter. Now you can come back early, and it's because you're not, but are the consequences are the same. There's damage done, so talking about, yeah. So I ended up like, I'm gonna be a painter, be an artist, and one point that was like real crazy for a lot of people. Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like that was also a portion of like life where like that's just like I could have kept pursuing the sport and like doing that. And there was teams that wanted me to like come try out or do that. And I was just like, I'm done, man. And it's also funny because I never I forgot to tell like my agent.
Right.
Like I just forgot to like be like, oh dude, I'm like, but like I had like already made up the mind. I was like, I guess like, I don't know, I'm not like gonna make a retirement announcement. I never really like had a career, so I'm not gonna like be like, I'm retired. I was like, I guess I'm just kind of just stop and like make more art. So my agent calls. He's like, dude, like, this team called and told me that you said you weren't going. Like, what's going on? Like, I was like, oh, bro, I forgot to tell you. I forgot to tell you. Sorry, dude. I was like, I've just been like, I've been like in the studio and like, what are you talking about? I had a studio. This is like real funny. I had this little attic at the house that I was at. It was just like in it, dude. Like, just like getting to be available, just like really in it. It was just like, be like, man, how do I, like, it was just so much fun to be able to be more available. And what I had to learn is that you can like deeply explore and still be comfortable. When you learn to like find like comfort in like the exploration. And that's like what the artistic process was for me. Like I know people that like, there's like this complex that they have where like, they're like overly ambitious. And I say overly or wrongly, inaccurately ambitious. And inaccurately ambitious. And I was this for a while because it doesn't make you more joyful. It doesn't make you more healthy. It's like destructive ambition,
Mm-hmm.
And the more I learned to be like, we were talking about it today when I was like, oh dude, but like my number that I'm like trying to make that number less of what I like it's not how much money I have, it's what I need to like, what I need. I'm trying to make my needs less. Like, get those down.
Right.
It's hard for people to understand. So like really think about, like, I'm stopping playing to, like, at the time I was like making salsa, to make salsa in pain. They're just like, dude's going through a crisis. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is like what, and I understand. So I understand this. I'm like, you know, and at the same time, in that phase, I was like, yeah. You know why? Because like people have this dude's just got like infinite money to do. It's like, no, I afforded myself a year to just like explore myself and then figure out how to keep doing that every day. Entrepreneurship, baby.
And walking through the door.
You know, and like, and then I met some incredible older artists, like Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, I just like had like artists who've been doing it a lifetime, like lifetimes that I meet, and it was just so. I mean, dude, just like I'm just so grateful. Neil, this guy Neil. And they just like show up, like, oh, like you're an artist, huh? I was like, yeah. And this is what's interesting is like, I'd always been that. I'd always been that. So like, there was never this thing where I battled like the imposter syndrome there.
Mm-hmm.
I met like these older guys that just been 45 years, like a lifetime of making art, you know, like doing it, just like, and like, yo, this is wild, like, you know, and what I didn't realize, and this is what I think like a lot of artists don't realize, if you're doing it, you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing it, that's a chance to be doing it. This idea of like what it's supposed to look like, what you're supposed to have, who's supposed to know you, like how much your art's supposed to sell for, where it's hanging. All those things are byproducts of doing it. People like focus on those things, it keeps them from doing it.
Mm.
And like my process has always highly been about just like exploration of like process. So it's almost like the word process it's like the opposite of that. It's not like the same thing every time. It's just like, it's more like consistency is the process. There's no process. It's consistency, participation. The exploration of what's happening is never the same. I don't want it to be. Until it needs to be used, I choose to use it. But like, it's like a tool belt. You know, you like learn this, pick up that. And that's like knowing Neil. That's like one thing I picked up from Neil. This dude is almost like unbelievable that like I was like, it's like if there was something you needed to do, Neil could do it. Mm-hmm. I was like, bro, you've just like I remember we talk and like I just was just in my attic. I didn't see because I went through this phase of life where like it was necessary. I had to go through it where like I was just like, dude, like I don't even have the energy to explain where I'm at to anybody just because like it doesn't matter. Like the way your perception until I pop up and I'm unrecognizable, your perception drains energy. Because it's just going to be me accommodating you like this, like, are you okay? And I'm just going to be like what? Like, I'm doing this. I'm really actually like, you know, like there's another way that like, and it's in it, like if I look back and I could have told myself what to like say, it's easy for me to be like, dude, all you got to do is say, hey, like I really love doing this. Like I'd really love you to support this.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's a hard thing to say from the wrong energetic place. And I was in the wrong energetic place. I was like, I got to prove something. Like, you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, I can't prove something to you if I got to just ask it. And then you might be like, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Then where's the motivation? You know, so like motivation and like proving somebody wrong is just like, as necessary as it is to unlearn that.
Mm.
Like, you know, so I'm thankful for it. It's funny. Like, you know, it's funny to be like, oh, like, it's growth, you know, like the decade, a lot has happened in a decade, man. I was like, Neil, like, so I had this house that, it was cool. And I like did all this work to like fix it up. It's like this old Pittsburgh house, dude. And then winter happened. And dude, like the heating bill was like, it was like $800 a month. It was just something crazy. It was just like, there was no like, it was like one of these Southside slopes. You don't know this. Now that I've been in Pittsburgh, it's funny. But like back in the day, I mean, you realize like these dudes are just like building and there's like no regulation, nothing. Like you don't know like what there's like a retaining wall that's slaying it. I was like, yeah, the house is cool, you know? And like, and my thought process was like, yeah, I'll just buy it in cash and like, I'll be cool with like selling it for less. So like, it's not a loss if I just like break even and live for like, you know, like that's how I like afforded that time window. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
Because like, I knew that this would happen. And this was like a very like, interesting psychological place to like realize. I was like, I'm in a place where in this window of life, a lot of a future is going to be decided of like this or that. It's like actually like, and there's been a few things like that. And I work to like when I recognize that, not make a decision because I'm trying to like prove someone wrong, or even though I'm trying to prove me right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not making the decision to not explore a place when there's a place that I could always go, to stay in a place that I could always go back to, but not explore a place that if I don't go there, it doesn't exist. Like, so I was like, it's like I've been in Texas. It's not that like I had any issue where I was trying to escape. It's just like, but I need to go. I could always go back to where I haven't been. You haven't lived here. You haven't been here. You know, and so it was like, all right, well, let's see like what it's like being here. Like I know what it's like where I've been. Yeah, so that's when I made up my mind to like sell my house in Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
and then get enough capital to be like another year of exploration, which was just enough for another year because I started Studio AM.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. So I had a year in the attic space. And because there was like multiple forks in the road. It was like I could sell this house, go back to Texas, you know, there will be things I can do, you know, just because like I've been there, and people know me. I know people like how, there was like, I could not sell my house. And, man, wow. I'm just now, like, maybe today might be the first, like, very recently, it's been the first fruit of that decision that's actually happened. Because let me tell you this. There's a lot of catastrophe I avoided early on. Of just like, some things avoided, some things just like made it through, some things helped through, But I could have also just like went and started looking for jobs. There's nothing wrong with that, but it was like, I realized like if I do that, I'm just going to be like doing this to have a house. And I thought I wanted a house at one point. That was a thing that like, when you're like, this is what's crazy. This is like, I think back and it's like all these things that they're like, this is like what you're supposed to want and have. And if you get that, you've got it. But when you get that thing you want, it creates things you have to do. So you have to be okay with doing what you have to do. That's why like it's good to have few things that you want so you don't have to do much. And that doesn't mean that you don't work hard. And that doesn't mean that it can't be purposeful work. It just means that the metric in which you make decisions on your availability, something that's always there, a job you have to do. Mm-hmm. Something that's always there, a job you get to do. It's not the same thing, but it is the same thing. It doesn't mean that one is like superior or less necessary than the other. It's just that like, yeah, the job I have to do. So I gotta do it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I gotta be doing it. I got to. There's nothing else. Like, what do you mean? Like, it'll be like, what? Like, what is now the job that I get to do is like, oh, but this might not just be it. It could be something that I get to do. Now, those things, depending on how you look at them, mean an infinite, there's a lot to that spectrum of when someone even says that, what it means to them. And that's for each person to like explore for himself. For me, I knew that I didn't like my answers. Mm-hmm. I was honest about that with myself. Like, nah, it's in the mood. Like, God, freaking like training camp. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, and then the other thing is like, what do I get to do? It was like a question mark. And like, usually that question mark, the relationship people have with that question mark as it begins to change, that's what I'm saying, it becomes less fear-based, more possibility-based, purpose-driven. Like, man, but wait, whoa. And there's a season of that. Season where you're like, yeah, but shoot, I'm about to grind. Like, oh, I'm grinding. Oh, like the grind. I got to prove that this guy, like, dude, like, I'm grinding. Look at me grind. Which I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for it, so you can like appropriately apply it anonymously, but learn that like there's nothing wrong with ease. But that's not always right either. So there's nothing wrong with it. There's some things wrong with being like grind. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's actually ease does get to the point where there's some things that don't become possible because of that. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So it's like tensing your muscles in a way, like just little moments where it's like exert the will. Just so it's not that it's like always relaxed, but it's like even when it's tense, it's just like relaxed because it doesn't stay that way. It's just purposeful, just like. So it'd be like doing this, like calm, like just, so, but that's what's cool about art is like there's people out here making things that are just like timeless, incredible, just storytelling, like that, like type of, I think about, I'm like, man, so it's like, yeah, I'm like, I get to do this. But it's also like, oh, I have to do that. You see what I mean? It's like both. Like, I have to do this. Oh, I get to do that. It's like, is it from the same energetic place? Do both make you joyful? I saw something interesting that was like, you just changed the word from like, I have to I get to. It's like, I've been thinking, I'm like, I see what you're saying. But everything you said is said from a place that's said. Like it's like you're like this is a big change that's happening for me. Is like for a lot of life. It's not that I didn't appreciate when people like were helpful. But like someone like, were people caring about what I was doing, celebrating what I was doing, supporting what I was doing, not caring about what I was doing, not supporting what I was doing. It's just irrelevant. And I'm realizing more and more, not that I should not want that or want that, but there are some beautiful things in there that like are good to be grateful for. And that's like a subtle acknowledgement until the next moment that it may just, the focus needs to move. I was watching this podcast on decision fatigue. It's been interesting because there's so much like information out there that you can like research something and see like experts that just like there's like it's crazy. It's just there. People tell and like so I've been like looking at decision fatigue, not because I feel like I have it, or that I'm like, oh, it's impossible for me to get it. But I, at this point, like in the work that I do, it would be foolish for me not to like look at that and be like, like, and everybody talks about it like the amount of decisions you have to make. Like there's a lot, and there's a frequency, like how this and that and this and and when I jumped around and I was like, oh, I just realized that going on that entrepreneurial journey was like, actually, I'm just seeing the fruit of it, is how it trained that. Like, so there's other entrepreneurs, other business people. It's important. My experience, it's been very important to have a creative practice. That's why, like, for you, it's like, I don't want to discourage you being able to have a creative practice, because like that's you being like, oh man, I like this because like your brain's working in a way that you like. It's important to like the way you think. It's like, it's very much a thing. To be like, oh man.
Great sign.
Oh brain. That's cool. Thinking that way. Like
That more.
Yeah. So like up late, up early. And it was like, I'd never been able to nap, dude.
Right.
You know what's crazy? Like in my life, I never had the option to nap, bro. I was always trying to get, this is like how crazy it was. I'd be practicing. I'd be like, man, I'm just, my body's like, a lot of people don't know what it's like to feel exhausted. Like when you work out hard, you train, like that is a thing. Like you're exhausted and your body's exhausted. You've worked your body. There's also like the exhaustion that you don't get exhausted because like things are necessarily like hard. It's just that you've like let it all, like you've just like turned the valve and let with this, like highly with it. And you're just like, oh. Like, wow. And then training that. Like, dude, I'm not like the artist that's just like hanging around, it's like, and let me also say this, it's also that I'm not that. But it's that not busy, not frantically running to the next thing. But the things are what they are, and I'm highly with it. But early on, it was just like chaotic, dude. I was like, I didn't know. I'm just like, get up, get out of bed, go, like figure it out, grind, stay up, grind, and like, this is, it's funny now because I look back and I'm like, man, I could have gave myself so much advice. But now I can do that. You see what I mean? Like now I'm 10 years in, I can do that for 20 years from now. That's what's dope when you get to the point where you're like, you have experience. This is why I realized like people change. And it's a beautiful thing. It's supposed to happen. It's also beautiful to expand. Mm-hmm. Now, that's what I, in the studio, fell in love with the more I made art, is that like, man, no, like the vision for like what's possible is expanding. It's not changing. Still making art. It's just that what that can be is expanding. And how old will I be this year? 33 was 33 was, man, yeah, like, ooh, 34. And at one point I definitely was like, in hangout mode, more about like people, not so much about people necessarily caring what I was doing, but like it would be like, because there was like this phase where I didn't like being like the former this, because like before that it was like the former that was always tied to like people's like infatuation with like this thing that I did, and they're like, oh, and like, and again, as necessary as it is to outgrow it. But then there was a phase where, dude, I like stopped caring about me even being me.
Wow.
Like, it's like, there's the work.
Wow.
It's the work. That's the. It's like falling in love with the studio. Yeah, I mean, this phase, well, but I'd never been like intentionally completely available to it until somewhat recently. You know, I'd like have projects that I'd be doing that where I was only doing it because it's like man, I needed to get enough cash to keep doing it, and that's a phase, totally a phase. Excuse me. Then there's just other things, you know, like you're in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and like this person's like, I'm feeling some type of way. You're like, okay. I'll be available. Because this is what a relationship is. And then Art started being like, dude, like, I want to marry you.
Right.
Baron, I want to love you. Baron, make love to me. Like, give me everything. See what I can give you. If you do that. I was like, I will.
Gave it all hard, man.
But culturally, I mean, it's interesting because like, there's like all these things like movies you see, like guy gets the girl get like, get the, like, there's all these inputs, and you're not aware of what they really are doing, they're like your worldview. And it's not a situation where I'm like, like avoiding like human relationships. It's just that I'm like fortunate and grateful that I'm getting to like really deeply dive into like what that actually is like. Now I'm more aware that it's healthy for me to be uncertain about what I'm doing. Where then I was like, I'm so sure about what I'm doing, but you still don't know what you're doing. Like now it's just like, I better like just. But that's like the learning process of you wind up a big ball of thread and you got to like untangle it to get to the point where you can use like the sewing machine. You're like, dang it. Like, oh. And you made the knot. Oh. So like, that was like that phase. And during this phase, people are still like, because this is the thing, like I built a brand and something that was attractive, but like the business and the thing, and then I got in trouble for like the graffiti, and I was paying all these fines, and like I was like, geez, like, and at that time, just still was like dealing with the whole like, I want people to see me as an artist. Like I was like overly the other way. Some people were like, I'm not an artist. I was like, I'm an artist. It's weird. So yeah, then I took time off, dude, and just like had to take, it was like a year of having to like untangle everything, just like get out of leases, pay people for this, get out, like just get things clean where I could just like take a year off. And like, so I built something, got a lot of experience, got the XP up, like kind of upgraded the wooden sword, but then I had no boots. Like it was like, like can't go here, I get blisters on my feet. So, and then like just like traveled for a year, lived in my car, bro, and had like $500. It was just travel. I'd make a painting and like find a post office, like sell it on the website, and like get enough money to gas, just move, and like. Then I came back, because one of my friends, he's my college roommate, and in my freshman year, he built this crazy house out in Dallas. We played football together at Tech, and he played in the league for a while. And he's like, dude, I want you to do all the artwork for my house. And I was like, bro, like, I don't have a studio set up right now. And he'd been telling me about this like on and off for like 2 years. He was working on this crazy house. Like, dude, I'm gonna have you make the art. And I was like, bro, like, I'm not, I'm trying to like, I'm kind of in this other phase, he's like, no, dude, like, you gotta see it. And I was like, look, when you're ready, like, let me know and we'll see where I'm at. And then he hits me up. And this was like after I've been like kind of just moving for just out for a year. I was in Seattle for a little bit, just playing ping pong. Went to Seattle, bro, in Pioneer Square, ran the ping pong tables for like a week and a half straight, undefeated, with the local street people. And they were like, this guy showed up with a, like, dude, you don't understand, like, I'd like ping pong, like things like that, like, so anyway, which was wonderful, like very interesting, just like had this experience. It's like, I'm just gonna get out and just, got to go see family, spend time with family. I've been working so hard, I hadn't really seen family. And this project came up. I was like, look, dude, it was like 8 months. It was like 8 months. So I had to like put roots back. Mm-hmm. Like I got to the point where I was open to like, I was just like, life, I'm just going to go on an adventure, and where you put me, like, I'll be about it. Like, it's like, I'm just going to like, it's not that I didn't like Pittsburgh. Definitely wasn't that. It's that my experience that I had had up to that point in Pittsburgh existed through a person that I like realized like I don't want to be that. Like, so I was like, I'm just gonna go elsewhere, and just travel. And this project came up, and I had to get a studio and set up a studio. I was like, dude, like, for me to do this work, it was like something like 20 canvases that were like 8 feet by 12 feet, but like there was like this giant, like I was like, dude, like I don't even know where I'm gonna, but in time for like, this is like not like as simple as you think. You're just thinking like, oh yeah, but you make art. I'm like, dude, like, yeah, but like, there's like more, I don't want to say there's more to it than that, but like from blank slate of having not had a studio, like I had like my backpack. I had enough things to sketch. I was sketching, I was writing. So like, that's still my creative process, but a work studio to do that type of work, I was like, that's like, so I told him, I was like, dude, look, I'm going to send over a proposal. It's non-negotiable. I was like, I'm happy if you say no to it. Actually, it's going to be presented that I'm going to try to make you say no. Like, I'm just going to like actually just, but the work will be like, but if you say yes, you'll get the dopest thing. And I was just like, so I sent it over, and he was like, word, I'll send over the deposit. And it was like we're like I mean, looking back, I mean, I'm actually like, it was necessary that like I'm glad that it went that way. I can't remember if like he just, or if I told him, I think it was like, I was just like, that's kind of a big number. You know, it's cool if you just pay half and then half let, but I bet if at that phase, if you would have paid me the whole thing, I just would have probably like, not just like, it was nice to have that incentive just to get the project done, not financially, but just where I could be like, all right, like, now I can think about what options are, like living simply and like having more time for, you know, like another like 2 years, just chill. And that's when I fell in love with studio practice.
Wow.
Because like, you know, I was just able to just like focus in. I was just able just to like be in this, and it took a while to like settle into that because I wasn't used to spending, I'd be in the studio for periods and I was all over the place doing stuff, but it was like, it wasn't a situation where I was, I can condition myself to be in the studio for like working for like 14 hours a day, like consistently. So that was a season where I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to get some experience just like really focusing on being a working studio artist. Like I'd done murals. I was like, oh man, am I a street artist? Am I a business person? Am I this? Am I that? And it's like, it's not that like any of those things are necessarily a no. It's just like they're all extension of my creative practice. I hadn't yet like really settled into like my creative practice. Neil actually told me this, the older artist I met, he told me one time, it was crazy when he said it, because this was early. I was like, it's like 10, probably like 8 years ago. I met Neil maybe 8 years-ish. But he's like, man, he's like, don't worry about like being a great artist right now. He was like, it's not even possible to make good art until you're like at least 35.
Wow.
I was like, bro, what are you talking about? He was like, time is a tool, my friend.
Wow.
He was like, it takes time for time to pass. It's not up to you. I was like, he's like, you'll realize what I'm saying if you're still doing it when you're 35. You know? He was like, I was like, you know, and just like drop that gym on me. And I was like, yeah, bro, you're right. like you're right. It doesn't matter. Like experience, life, growth, just as much as like you practicing, like the vehicle who you are is like a tool as well. And that vehicle passes through time. And so it's funny. I think about that as it's getting closer to like mid 35s. It was like, dang, he's like totally right. He's totally right. Just settling into like your relationship with relationships without feeling guilty. You know, this is like a thing that, you know, I like learned to work through. Like,
right.
Being like, nah, there's nothing wrong with like how much I love what I do. And that's also, so it's also the season of like that being the case of like having things going on, running companies, being respectful of the other people that have like agreed to come on the journey with me, that like it's their livelihoods. You know what I mean? Being like, well, like, and then also people that like are just like, we're supporting it in like that balance, you know?
Sure.
And for about 2 years, the last 2 years, I like went back and forth about like, man, do I write a thing that's kind of explaining where my headspace has been? Is that even necessary energy to sit down and be like, let me explain to you? Or just like, I guess technically this is that. Just kind of being like, yeah, this is what's up. But like, I can't care about what people think. It's not possible. Like, you're over there in your head. like, I can do my best to care about you. But like, how you think about like me caring about what you think, I don't care about that. That's the point. That's the trick is care about everybody, but not caring what they think. Like what they think. Like what they think. What and how are not the same thing. Like what they think. Me caring about how someone thinks is me caring about you. Like I can only understand how in a moment that I'm with you. Now, whatever you walk off with and you go do what you're like, man, look, because no one actually does anyway. No one is up here like when you're doing what you're doing or but this is, everybody knows this, dude. But this is something that I also, am happy about. Is that I like, there's no person, it doesn't exist that a person exists that I'm like within like the people I know that I'm like, I don't want you to do awesome. And not just awesome, but like way back, go be as awesome, be as great as you could, like go, yeah. Go do your thing. Go, yeah. I want to be doing that. Because that's what I'm going to be up to. Like, yeah, go on the journey. And if our journey's, you're here for a little bit to get awesome. And, and I'm super grateful because, like, I haven't had to explain it. Everybody's been like, nothing's changed. It's like, I'll get back. And I always do, It's not that it's like, because I'm like, it's not because I'm busy either. That's the thing. You must be busy. It's like, no, that's like a unjust correlation. That my speed of getting back equals busyness. Maybe I'm just like, the get backness meter is like not at a high priority because there's like a get to it meter over here. It's gotta like, it's not that that's busy either. It's just that like, if it gets inaccurate, there are consequences. And like, I'm aware that like what I'm doing has exceeded my experience. like, you know what I mean? Like I'm aware of that. And like, so what that means is that like, I gotta be extra on it. And great about it. That's so. It's just I'm excited about this exhibition, just because it's gonna get like just seeing everybody, and everybody knows this. I go in and out of these phases. Like the last one was like, "Yo, you." It's like, "Yeah, great to see you." Like, great to see you. Like, I'll see everybody, and it's like, "All right, here we go." But that's the at least for me, and that's like the creative journey, is that because this is the thing. Part of the exploration is like forgetting yourself. Like you can't be exploring if you're like, oh, that. And that's not to say that like doing that, or that like relationships are always like, but if you really break down the dynamic of relationships, you're building shared memories. So if you're like consistently with the people you're doing that with, and they're not exploring with you, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then, and I just know, at least for me, the certain amount of like what in the moment to momentness of this energy of like is not, and that's required in real moment to moment. Like, that's, yeah, you know what I mean? So like, I'm really excited about this phase because like, there's beautiful things happening. And there's a lot of invitations for just all the homies, the community, like Pittsburgh region, other cities, to participate in the things happening. And that's the relationship in this season, is accepting the invitation to participate. If you want to know me, like, the only way is the work at this point. There's nothing else. It's actually that way. like it's actually that way. I'm like, what was I up to? It's just like here or there doing work. Like, you must be busy. God, I mean, not the way that I think most people use that word. The exhibition. What type of work? What type of art? To expect. Something for everyone. In terms of everyone being able to find something and be like, yeah, I like this. Things for everyone to experience together. Collaborative artists. Brunch is back.
Mm-hmm.
Music, good times, lots of color, and that would be available. Like, you know, like, be there, saying what's up to everyone. You know, like it's been an incredible journey up to this point. In the last 2 years, there's been a lot of people that like I appreciating the work. And I'm also equally excited about like what the work is like in terms of like bigger picture, expanding. I think when the term like "we'll see" is said, it kind of means like we'll see. Like, we don't know. We'll see. No, it's like we get to see a decade.
Right.
Of working with people, of working in a direction, of doing it. You know, I get to see, you know, from coming out of the tunnels and ended up in Cranberry, like, thought it was Latrobe. Like, am I here? Like, no, dude, like, you know, to being like, man, I like it here. To like, what, man, a new chapter. What does this place have in store? To, all right, I guess maybe I can go anywhere, to coming right back and be like, all right, like, here we go. To, like, you know what I mean? Like a decade. decade of life. You're okay to make it, or you're willing to make it like look that way, where it's either you become a person that can hold it or it crushes you. Where it's like if you could hold it, you're that. Doesn't need to be a you. It's like, yeah, it's easy to hold. There's just that, just the work. Just interesting, man. I've been thinking about like, and this last, that like how towards this last, I don't know how long for me to make it, but I'm like, maybe the whole, I don't know. Anyways, like there's a reason, this was like a few hours, like where I just drop it. It's like, whatever. It's the best way to just like, you sit down and write and be like, I can delete that word. Like, that's weird. Maybe just like, I'm not trying to delete the words and put too much energy into like being diligent about what I say, like day to day. But there's some things coming up that won't just be me just talking about it. It'll be like, come participate. And people do, man. Pittsburgh's dope. Pittsburgh's dope. It's full of like beautiful people on their journeys. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, like really it's cool when you think about it. A bunch of humans on their journeys together. Like, really cool. It is, man. Just like, hey, good to see you today. Like, bro, it's beautiful. Like, homie who met at the Penguin State was like, bro, I've never like, you see me, he's out in the country. He's like, bro, like, this is like crazy. Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. You remember what he's saying? He was like, dude, like, people living their lives and like, it's like I'm in a community and like,
right. Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, dude. There's like a solidarity. That's what's unique about this city. That and I know for just because I talk about it with so many people that like clients and people I know that like it's a love for the life you get to live here. Like that, like love the way you live thing. Like all these conversations started happening that like you're just vibing about like how people are like, dude, yes, I'm like loving life. like and it's equally like them appreciating like get their journey and what they're experiencing, but it's also like where they're experiencing that. You're like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This is cool. Small business owners doing their thing. People in the restaurant business doing their thing. People in the medical field doing their thing. My people in law doing their thing. My real estate homies doing their thing. People in like nonprofits doing it. People in tech doing their thing, changing the world. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like if you like, it's a steel, blue collar steel town. It's like, yeah, it's all these things now because of that too. And that's also dope. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of things that it is right now that are later things. like that, like that's where I'm like, oh, oh man.